Have you ever felt like you're running a race with your shoelaces tied together? No matter how hard you work, how many books you read, or how much you pray, you keep hitting the same invisible wall. Your bank account stays stuck. Your relationships keep failing in the same way. And that heavy cloud over your head never truly clears. The truth is, your problem isn't physical, it's spiritual. You are carrying spiritual chains that were forged in your past. Your bloodline, or your own habits. These chains are invisible to the eye, but they are more real than the ground you walk on. Today, we are exposing the 10 chains that are sabotaging your destiny. If you feel like your life has been on pause for years, pay close attention to number 5. It's the silent thief that most people never see coming. Chapter 1. The Chain of Ancestral Baggage. 300 words. Focus. Generational patterns and family trauma. Do you look at your life and see the same patterns of struggle that your parents or grandparents faced? Perhaps it's a cycle of poverty, a history of divorce, or a recurring struggle with addiction. Science calls this epigenetics, but in the spiritual realm, it is known as the chain of ancestral baggage. You didn't just inherit your family's eye color, you inherited their unresolved emotional debts and spiritual traumas. Think of your life as a stream. If your ancestors threw poison into the water upstream, you are the one drinking it today. These are unconscious loyalties, where your soul stays stuck in a struggle simply because, this is how my family has always lived. You feel guilty for succeeding where they failed, or you unconsciously repeat their mistakes to feel a sense of belonging. This chain is incredibly heavy because it isn't yours, yet you are the one wearing it. Breaking this chain requires the courage to be the black sheep of the family. You must realize that your highest honor to your ancestors is not to suffer like them, but to heal the line once and for all. You are the one the family has been waiting for, the pattern breaker. When you stand up and say, "The cycle of lack stops with me," you aren't just freeing yourself, you are freeing the generations behind you and the ones yet to be born. Stop carrying a backpack full of stones that your grandfather picked up. Drop the weight. Chapter 2. The Chain of Unvoiced Guilt. The heaviest chain you will ever wear is the one you forge for yourself. We all have shadow rooms in our hearts, moments from our past where we weren't our best selves. People we hurt, or opportunities we wasted. Even if those people have forgiven you, or even if the world has forgotten, you haven't. This is the chain of unvoiced guilt, and it is the primary engine of self-sabotage. When you carry deep, unresolved guilt, your subconscious mind believes you don't deserve to be happy. So, right when you are about to get that promotion, you pick a fight with your boss. Right when you meet someone who loves you, you push them away. You are effectively punishing yourself before God or the universe can. You feel like a fraud, and you believe that if people knew the real you, they would leave. This chain keeps you small because small feels safe from the judgment you think you deserve. The universe does not want your punishment, it wants your transformation. Guilt is meant to be a teacher, not a prison guard. Once you have learned the lesson and made amends where possible, the guilt has no more work to do. By holding onto it, you are actually being arrogant. You are saying that your judgment of yourself is more powerful than God's grace. To break this chain, you must practice the hardest form of forgiveness, forgiving the person you were yesterday. You cannot build a new future while you are still trying to serve a sentence for the past. Chapter 3. The Chain of What Will They Think? 300 words. Focus. People-pleasing and social validation. This is the most socially acceptable chain, yet it is one of the most deadly to your soul's purpose. We spend billions of dollars on clothes we don't like, to impress people we don't know, using money we don't have. The chain of social validation turns you into a puppet, with the strings being pulled by the opinions of others. You have become so good at being what everyone else wants you to be that you have forgotten who you actually are. Every time you say, yes, when your soul is screaming, no, a link is added to this chain. Every time you hide your true passions because you're afraid of being mocked, the chain gets tighter. You aren't living your life, you are living a performance. The danger of this chain is that it feels safe. As long as you stay within the lines society draws for you, you won't be criticized, but you also won't be alive. Your soul came to this earth with a unique frequency. a specific song to sing. When you try to harmonize with the crowd just to fit in, the universe loses that unique sound. Breaking this chain requires the holy indifference, the realization that someone's opinion of you is none of your business. Most people are so worried about their own chains that they aren't even looking at yours. Stop asking for permission to be yourself. The only person you need to be good enough for is the Creator who made you. Break the mirror of social expectation and look into the eyes of your own soul. Chapter 4. The Chain of Spiritual Laziness, the Soul's Slumber. Have you ever felt like you were living in a state of spiritual suspension? You pray, you hope, and you read inspiring quotes, yet your life remains static. This is the chain of spiritual laziness. Unlike physical exhaustion, this is a passivity of the soul, a state where you expect the universe or God to do your work for you. You use spirituality as a shield to avoid the messy, difficult responsibility of taking real-world action. Many people mistake surrender for doing nothing. But the truth is, the universe can only steer a moving ship. If you are standing still at the harbor, praying for the wind to blow, you will go nowhere. This chain makes you weak. It convinces you that you are a helpless victim of fate, waiting for an external rescue that will never come. Your soul is like a muscle. If it isn't exercised through challenge and decisive action, it atrophies. Chapter 5. The Silent Thief, the Chain of Procrastination. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, this is the most silent thief of all. It steals your destiny without you ever noticing it's gone. The chain of procrastination isn't just about being late for work. It is the rejection of your soul's calling. You tell yourself, tomorrow I will start healing. Next year I will pursue my passion. Or, when I have enough money, I will be generous. But tomorrow is an illusion that never arrives. And this chain is tightening around your most precious resource, time. At the root of procrastination is a spiritual fear, the fear that you aren't good enough, or the fear that if you actually try and fail, you'll have nothing left to hope for. This chain keeps you living in a state of preparing to live, rather than actually living. You collect knowledge and tools, but you never enter the battlefield. This is the ego's way of protecting itself from change, but it simultaneously imprisons your soul in an endless loop of regret. To shatter this chain, you must accept that perfection is the enemy of evolution. The universe doesn't require you to be perfect, it only requires you to be present. The moment you begin the task your soul has been nudging you toward, the chain crumbles. Don't wait until you are ready, because readiness only comes after the action has begun. Every minute you delay is a minute you refuse the gift God gave you. Act now, while the fire in your heart is still burning, for tomorrow may be too late to fulfill your soul's contract. To break this chain, you must realize that action is the highest form of prayer. When you take one step, the universe takes 10 steps toward you. You cannot ask for wealth without putting in the labor, nor can you ask for peace without practicing internal discipline. Stop being a spectator in your own life. Miracles are not handouts. They are the resonance between your will and the divine power. Stand up and move. Sometimes the silence of the universe is simply its way of saying, it is your turn to act. Chapter 6. The Chain of Judgment, the Wall Against Love. Every time you judge someone else, you aren't defining them, you are defining your own limitations. The chain of judgment is one of the most deceptive barriers because it makes you feel superior while it is actually making you smaller. When you criticize the path of another, you create a wall between your soul and the collective energy of the Creator. You become a spiritual island, cut off from the flow of grace because you have decided you are the judge of who is worthy and who is not. Chapter 7. The Chain of Material Attachment, the Golden Cage. We live in a society that measures the greatness of a man by the size of his nest. We spend the best years of our lives accumulating objects, upgrading our technology, and equating our self-worth with our net worth. However, in the spiritual realm, the chain of material attachment acts as a golden cage. It feels luxurious to the touch, but it remains a prison nonetheless. This chain convinces you that your security lies in things that can rust, rot, or be taken away by a market crash. When you are deeply attached to the material world, your soul loses its ability to fly, because it is weighted down by the constant Low-level anxiety of losing what you own. Attachment is not defined by what you possess, it is defined by what possesses you. If your internal peace evaporates when your bank account fluctuates, or if your identity is shattered when a physical status symbol is taken away, you are wearing this chain. This obsession with the tangible keeps you from exploring the vast, intangible riches of the spirit. You become so focused on the survival and comfort of your body that you forget the urgent mission of your soul. To break this chain, you must practice the ancient art of non-attachment. This doesn't mean you must live in poverty, it means you must not let your possessions own your heart. Remind yourself daily, I am a spiritual being having a temporary physical experience. When you realize that you came into this world with nothing and will leave with nothing but your character and your capacity to love, the golden links of this chain simply melt away. You are no longer a slave to the stuff of the world, but a master of your own internal landscape. Chapter 8. The Chain of the Unknown, the Prison of Comfort. The human ego is designed for one thing: survival. Because of this, most people would rather be miserable in a familiar, predictable situation than take a risk on the unknown. This is the chain of the unknown, forged by a primal fear that tells you that the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. This chain keeps you trapped in toxic relationships, dead-end jobs, and soul-crushing habits simply because they're safe. But in the spiritual world, safety is an illusion, and growth only happens at the jagged edge of the abyss. If you aren't willing to step into the dark, you will never find your own internal light. The universe is constantly trying to push you into new territory, but this chain acts like a spiritual anchor, dragging you back to the shallows of life. It tells you that change is dangerous and that staying small is the same as staying alive. But staying safe is actually a slow, quiet form of spiritual death. Your soul did not come here to be comfortable, it came here to expand, to experience, and to overcome. To break this chain, you must develop radical trust. You must believe that the Creator has a floor waiting for you even when you cannot see it. Faith is not the belief that God will give you exactly what you want. It is the absolute certainty that whatever happens is for your highest evolution. When you begin to view the unknown as a playground of infinite potential rather than a graveyard of failure, you become truly unstoppable. The moment you step off the cliff of your comfort zone, you realize that the universe has always intended for you to soar, not to hide. Chapter 9. The Chain of Spiritual Pride, the Ego's Last Stand. This is perhaps the most dangerous chain of all because it wears a mask of light. It often looks like a halo to the untrained eye. Spiritual pride occurs when you begin to feel superior because of your esoteric knowledge, your daily meditation practice, or your awakened status. You start looking down on unconscious people, calling them sheep, and believing you are a VIP in the kingdom of heaven. This is the ego's final, desperate attempt to survive the process of awakening. It has hijacked your spirituality to make itself feel special and separate once again. Spiritual pride creates a thick, impenetrable wall of separation. It turns your enlightenment into a weapon of judgment rather than a tool for humble service. If your spirituality makes you feel better than others rather than closer to them, you haven't found freedom. You have simply swapped a heavy iron chain for a subtle silk one. This pride blinds you to your own remaining shadows and prevents the very growth you claim to seek. Breaking this chain requires the practice of divine humility. You must realize that the more you know of the infinite, the more you should realize how little you truly understand. A truly awakened soul is like a full ear of grain. It bows its head low to the earth, while the empty ear stands tall and arrogant. The closer you get to the light, the smaller and more transparent your shadow of pride should become. True power is not found in being more awakened than your neighbor, but in realizing that you and your neighbor are the same soul wearing different masks. Chapter 10. The Final Liberation, the Death of the Story. The final and most difficult chain to break is the one you have built your entire life around: your identity. It is the chain of the self-story, the deep-seated idea that you are your past, your trauma, your family name, and your social labels. We cling to our stories of being a victim, a survivor, a failure, or even a great success. We hold onto these narratives because they give us a sense of who we are in a chaotic world. But as long as you are identified with your story, you are a prisoner of time, and you are not free to be who you truly are in the eternal now. The final liberation happens when you realize that you are the witness of the story, not the character struggling within it. You are the vast, unchanging sky, not the passing clouds of emotion or circumstance. When you finally stop defending your identity and your history, the last chain falls to the floor with a deafening, beautiful silence. You are no longer a slave to your past mistakes or a prisoner of your future anxieties. In this state of total surrender, you realize that you are a pure expression of divine consciousness, free to create, to love, and to simply be without justification. This is the moment you stop trying to be spiritual and realize you have always been the spirit itself. The chains were always an illusion created by your belief in separation. The only thing that kept them on was your refusal to let go of the person you thought you were. Step out of the story and into the light. You are the key, the lock, and the door itself.